Welcome back, everyone. Today we've got some major news out of Dallas, and it's the kind of update that could completely change the outlook for the Cowboys defense this season. The spotlight is once again on one of the most talented, yet unfortunately unlucky, players on this roster, linebacker DeMarvion Overshown. If you've been following the Cowboys this year, you know it's been nothing short of a roller coaster. First came the shocking blockbuster trade that sent Micah Parsons packing, a move that ripped the heart out of this defense and left fans stunned. Losing Parsons was already a blow few thought the team could absorb. But then came another devastating setback when Overshown, the player many believed was next in line to become a defensive cornerstone, went down with a brutal knee injury late last season. Cowboys Nation has been left holding its breath ever since, wondering when or even if he would ever step foot on the field again. Now, though, we finally have an update, and it's the kind of news that fans have been waiting to hear for months. According to a report from Dan Graziano of ESPN, Dallas is now expecting DeMarvion Overshown to return sometime in late October or early November. That timeline is significant, not only because it means he could be back for the heart of the season, but because it gives him the chance to contribute during the most crucial stretch to run toward the playoffs. This isn't just any player we're talking about. Overshown was on the verge of becoming one of the most exciting young linebackers in the NFL before his injury. His combination of speed, explosiveness, and versatility had coaches, scouts, and analysts buzzing. He wasn't just filling a role, he was starting to look like a game changer, someone capable of impacting every single snap. For a Dallas defense that has looked flat at times without its two biggest stars, Overshown's return could mean the difference between being a middle-of-the-pack unit and being one that can actually strike fear into opposing offenses again. To really understand just how important Overshown can be, let's rewind to his 2024 season. In only 13 games, he put together a stat line that most young linebackers can only dream of. He recorded 12 pressures, 8 tackles for loss, 5 quarterback hits, 5 sacks, 4 pass deflections, and even picked off a pass. For a 25-year-old still learning the ins and outs of the pro game, those numbers tell the story of a player who doesn't just fill gaps, he blows up plays. He's the kind of linebacker who disrupts the backfield, clogs passing lanes, and attacks the quarterback with relentless energy. And when you look at his performances between weeks 8 and 12 of last season, the hype makes sense. In just over 300 snaps, Overshown tallied 7 tackles for loss and 4 sacks, a stretch of dominance that had many around the league predicting he was about to have a breakout season. Sadly, that surge came to a sudden halt in December when disaster struck. Overshown's injury was not just a typical setback. Against the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 14, he tore his ACL, MCL, and PCL all at once, one of the most devastating injuries a football player can suffer. That single moment not only ended his season but also cast serious doubt on his future. Could he bounce back from something so severe? Would he ever look like the same player again? These weren't just idle questions fans and analysts alike had reason to worry. And it wasn't the first time Overshown had his career derailed by injury. Back in his rookie year, he tore his ACL during just the second preseason game. That meant his entire debut season was wiped away before it even began. After working tirelessly to return in 2024, building momentum and showing the league what he could do, he once again saw his hard work crumble in an instant. It's the kind of cruel twist of fate that tests a player's resolve to the very core. Understandably, these repeated injuries have raised questions about Overshown's long-term durability. 2 ACL tears before turning 26 is enough to make anyone wonder if his body can truly withstand the punishing demands of NFL football. Will he still have the same blistering speed off the edge? Will he still explode through gaps with the same ferocity? Or will these injuries rob him of that unique athleticism that made him such a nightmare for opposing offenses? Only time will answer those questions, and the Cowboys know they can't push him too fast. But one thing is for certain, his talent is undeniable. When healthy, He's the type of player who can transform a defense, and if Dallas manages his recovery correctly, they could have themselves a defensive centerpiece for years to come. What makes Overshown's story even more fascinating is the financial side. Despite all the uncertainty, contractually he's still an absolute bargain for Dallas. According to Spotrac, his cap hit is just $1.477 million this year and only slightly higher at $1.715 million next year. He won't even hit free agency until 2027. For perspective, that's an incredibly cheap deal for a player who was recently ranked as the 8th best linebacker in the NFL by an ESPN poll of executives, scouts, and coaches. Around the league, the respect for Overshown's abilities is sky high. One anonymous NFL defensive coach even went so far as to call him one of the most athletic linebackers I've ever seen, adding that he's the fastest guy out there and capable of completely taking over a game. Praise like that doesn't come easy, and it shows just how much potential Overshown still holds in the eyes of those who study the game for a living. Still, the Cowboys find themselves walking a very fine line. The temptation to rush Overshown back is real. After all, without Micah Parsons and with the defense struggling to find its old bite, the need for a spark is obvious. But at the same time, the team's medical staff knows how dangerous it could be to bring him back too early. Another major injury could not only derail his season but possibly his entire career. That's why this late October to early November timeline is so important. It gives Overshown the chance to slowly ramp up his conditioning, ease back into practice, and reintroduce himself to game speed without forcing him to shoulder too much too soon. And if all goes according to plan, he'll return just in time to give Dallas a huge lift heading into the stretch run of the season. Think about what even 80 to 90% of DeMarvion Overshown could mean for this Cowboys defense. His versatility allows him to line up in multiple spots, blitzing off the edge, dropping back into coverage, or plugging holes against the run. That kind of flexibility makes him a nightmare for offensive coordinators, who have to account for him no matter where he lines up. For Dallas, that makes him an invaluable weapon, especially as the team prepares for matchups against some of the league's most high-powered offenses. If Overshown can return anywhere close to his pre-injury form, it could completely change the trajectory of the Cowboys season. Instead of being a team with question marks on defense, they could suddenly find themselves with a unit strong enough to push them deep into the postseason. For fans, the waiting game continues, but for once, the wait is accompanied by real hope. DeMarvion Overshown is on track to return, and when he does, he could be the very boost the Cowboys desperately need to rediscover their defensive identity. After years of false starts, heartbreak, and setbacks, this might finally be the season where Overshown fulfills the promise that has been hanging over him since he first entered the league. His story has been one of struggle and resilience, but the next chapter has the potential to be his most inspiring yet. And that brings us to the end of today's update on DeMarvion Overshown's recovery and projected return. Cowboys Nation, what do you think? Do you believe Overshown can bounce back and become the defensive force he was meant to be, or do you fear the injuries will continue to haunt him? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, because I want to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this breakdown and want more updates on the Cowboys and the NFL, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more news on the way, and you won't want to miss it.